Today we're going to start talking about proofs, and really you've done some informal proofs on part of worksheet 3, but today we're going to talk about how to formally prove something. And usually sometimes students struggle with this, but we're kind of just piecing together a puzzle of using what we know to make an argument for why something else could be true. Here at the very beginning, there's a distinction that we want to make between the transitive property and the substitution property because there is a difference, and we'll be using both of them quite a bit in our proofs. Here it says the transitive property is saying if two things are equal to something else, like if A is equal to B and B is also equal to C, then A and C are also equal because they were both equal to B. The substitution property is saying if A equals B, then B can be substituted for A in an equation. And there is a difference there. So we'll use transitive property a lot when we're trying to prove that two things are congruent today. And we'll use the substitution property a lot when we are trying to prove that things are supplementary. And again, the main distinction for that is congruent is saying that two things are equal, so therefore they're equal to each other. For substitution, we're just saying if two angles are equal, then I can swap them in and out for each other. So that's why we're using it for supplementary, because we're not saying that those new two things are equal. We're just saying that we can swap one out for the other. On number 1 here, it says, given that L is parallel to M and P is parallel to T, we want to prove that angle 1 is congruent to angle 11. And I do think it's helpful to mark our picture here. So we're saying these two sets of lines are parallel and these are parallel, and that's how you're always going to want to start your proof. And we like to do, or I like to teach, 2-column proofs, where the first column is your statement and the second column is your reason. So we're always going to want to start with what was given to us. So L is parallel to M and P is parallel to T. And our reason for that is that it was given to us. They told us that was true. Then whatever we're trying to prove is going to be at the very bottom. I don't know what number it'll be yet, but I'm going to say angle 1 is congruent to angle 11. And I'll need a reason for that as well, but that's our goal. So let's think of a middleman I could use, per se, to get 1 and 11 congruent. So I know, for example, that 1 and 9 are congruent because they're a corresponding angle pair. And then also I know 9 and 11 would be a corresponding angle pair. So let's make those our next 2 steps of our proof. So we'll do one at a time. We'll say angle 1 is congruent to angle 9. And our reason is that they are corresponding angles. So you can use any of your congruent angle pairs. So corresponding alternate interior or alternate exterior were the ones that we studied. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but step 3. I'm going to say angle 9 is congruent to angle 11 for the same reason, corresponding angles. And then that means I can now conclude this, because if 1 is congruent to 9 and 9 is congruent to 11, then these have to be congruent to each other using our transitive property. Okay, and that's our very first proof. Okay, here, let's do another example. This time we want to prove they're supplementary. So instead of the transitive property, we'll be using the substitution property. When I set up my proof, statements on one side, reasons on the other, I always want to start with what was given to me. You don't want to leave that off. That's an easy point to get. You don't want to lose that point. So I'm going to say that these sets of lines are parallel because that was given to us. And then it is our goal. Also, sometimes you'll see, and in our key you'll see, and for the last one, they'll do these 3 dots instead of like step 4. And either is fine with me, but these 3 dots, if you see them on the key, mean therefore. Okay, so actually I'll start using those since we don't know what step number they'll be at the end anyway. Here, we'll say therefore, angle 9 and angle 4 are supplementary. That's our goal. And we need to try to fill out an argument for why that is. Okay, so we're again saying the same set of lines are parallel to one another. And our goal is to show that 9 and 4 are supplementary. So I'm going to go ahead and mark them in different colors. So let's think about what else would be supplementary. 9 and 5 might be a good one. 5 might be a good middleman. Let me use a different color. 5 might be a good middleman because since these are same side interior, we know they're supplementary. And then 4 and 5 would be alternate exterior, so we know they're congruent. And if 4 is congruent to 5, then we can swap it with 5 later. So let's go ahead and start an argument here. Step 2, we can say that these are same side interior, and our steps 2 and 3 could be in the opposite order. But we'll say angle 5 and angle 9 are supplementary. And our reason is that they are same side interior angles. And then step 3 here, angle angle 5 and angle 4 are congruent because they are alternate exterior angles. And then that would allow us to swap in 4 for 5 here and say 9 and 4 are supplementary by substitution. Okay, and it didn't have to be angle 5. These two could have been a different order. There is more than one way to write a proof, but your argument needs to make logical sense and have a reason for each step. So here's another example. Again, same two sets of lines are parallel for us. And this time they want us to prove that angle 5 is congruent to angle 12. So again, I want to start with my givens. L is parallel to M and P is parallel to T. That was given to us. And our goal is to show that 5 and 12 are the same. So again, I want to kind of pick a middleman. One that stands out to me would be 10, but 10 would not be the only choice that you could make. It's just one that I notice off the bat. So I'm going to start by saying 5 and 10 are congruent because they're alternate interior angles. And then let's connect 10 and 12. Angle 10 and angle 12 are congruent. So angle 10 is congruent to angle 12 because they are corresponding angles. So you got to know your angle pairs. And then I can get rid of our 10s here. We can say 5 is congruent to 12 by the transitive property. All right, next page. Proof points. Let me move myself here. Proof points on a perpendicular bisector of a line segment are equally those equidistant from the segment's endpoints. Put C on the perpendicular bisector and prove that it is equidistant from each endpoint. MC is the line of reflection because it is the perpendicular bisector of AB. All right, so here we have, so basically they've already filled out part of the proof for us and we're just kind of trying to fill in the blank here. But what we're trying to say is if I put a point C on this perpendicular bisector, we want to prove that it is the same distance from A to B. So this is saying if we reflect over CM, the point A, we would get A prime. So if I reflect A over our line of reflection here to get A prime, it would be the same point as B. So then it says draw A prime C. So that would be here. A prime C is the same as BC since A prime and B were the same point. AC is equal to A prime C is equal to BC. Okay, they all have the same measurement. These inherently have the same measurement because we did a reflection. And then it says, therefore, remember these 3 dots means therefore, by the transitive property, we can say AC is equal to BC. So we're saying in words here, which is kind of what I said before we started. What we're saying is any point on the perpendicular bisector is equidistant. Here, I'll move myself out of the way. Which means the same distance from the two endpoints. So sometimes you also see these where it's kind of got a skeleton filled in for you and you're just filling in the blanks. Sometimes we'll do proofs like that, and sometimes we'll have you make them from scratch into the two columns. So that's the end of our notes for today. Now we are working on worksheet 4 in our packet.